When can we get Boss in the attic?
It's usually halfway through the week.
So here she is,
Your host of Halfway Through the Week, Deb LaMotta.
It is halfway through the week, and tonight's show is brought to you by, well, me, along with the R2RB Indie Podcast Series with Bird, Wednesday Rally Indie artist Rob Harrowven. I'll be talking about upcoming guests and what's going on behind the scenes and more. So, I hope everybody's enjoying their week. The weather has been kind of halfway decent here in Delaware. Actually, today was probably a really nice spring day, if I had to say so myself. What else? Have you checked out all the new indie artist releases this week? I'm telling you, every day there is great music coming from the indie artist community. I can't keep up, to be honest with you. So I'm so glad that, those that have sent me their MP3s and bios. Thank you. I appreciate that. And in fact, if you're listening for the first time, you're an indie artist and you want to send your MP3 and a short bio to info@r2rb.com. If you want to text me during the show, it's 302-272-5389. All right. So I've got a lot for tonight. I have, as I said, my guest from the R2RB podcast series, Bird, and later on Rob Harrowven, who is the Wednesday Rally Indie Artist of the Week. So, make sure you're comfortable and you got it, whatever you like to drink and headphones on, because it'll be a good one. I'm going to try not to talk too much tonight because you're going to hear me in two of the interviews tonight. Bird, I sat down, last month. I can't believe we're in May. We're almost halfway through this year. It is crazy. So we sat down, had a great conversation, and I think you're really I know you're going to enjoy the interview and getting to know Bird. Halfway through the interview, her single Crimes Against Humanity will be in there, and then at the end it'll be her other single, 64 through 68. You can go check her out on Facebook, and she'll give you the information where to find her at the end of the interview. So that's it, guys. I mean, it's a great night, and great night for listening to interviews and great music. Later on in the show, I've got Joe Boo and Trophy in Motion. Bird, as I said, was my guest. We're going to start this interview, and I'll be back after that. Hi, and welcome to the R2RB Indie Artist Podcast Series. Today, I have with me indie artist Bird. Bo is not only an indie artist, but also does photography, painting, and drawing. Bo has recorded her music over the last several years, including her instrumental album, Oddity, and her singles Crimes of Humanity and 6468, reaching #1 on It's Now radio station. That is so awesome, Bo. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, I am super excited and honored to not only be a part of this lovely broadcast and interview, but having my song 6468 hit #1 for 2 weeks in a row, and then getting the other single, Crimes Against Humanity, up there as well. I mean, that's huge. And, last week, I think I voted for myself one time. So to everyone listening, thank you for voting. It's amazing.
Nice.
It's really good.
And it's a great accomplishment and a great feeling, I'm sure.
It is. And it's same with having the nominations for the International Singer-Songwriter Association. That is huge as well. I know the voting happens sometime in April.
Mm-hmm.
And, just to be nominated alone, to me, I am just stoked about. So
As you should. Congratulations. That's all great things happening for you. And we're just finishing up March. So kudos to you for 2025.
Yeah, it's going really well. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so glad. All right. So I like to ask 2 questions to get us warmed up. What's your favorite app on your phone and why?
Favorite app on my phone? Probably Instagram, because it's free. And honestly, I use my Instagram as kind of backup storage for all of my photography that I do. Google Photos is great until you keep hitting the storage unit max that they have, and then you have to start paying for it, which I do. And yeah, as you've probably seen, I do a lot of photography, so it fills up quickly.
And it does, because I use it too for other things as well. But yeah, sometimes you look at it, it's like, how did I use up all that space? Oh my gosh.
So great seeing like other people's, photography and things that they've been up to and stuff like that as well. So it's good to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you could have lunch with anyone, past or present, who would it be?
I'd probably say my grandparents on my dad's side of the family. They both, passed away quite a few years ago, and it would be nice to see them again and sit down and share and some of the success that's been happening, and be able, I catch myself, wondering every now and then, like, oh, what would they say about, what would they think about this, and how would they feel? And so it would be nice to, know that. And, my grandma was an incredible cook. So, having some of her food and stuff like that again would be great.
I like that. Were either of them into the art?
My grandpa did a lot of photography, just kind of for the fun of it. Along with my aunt and my dad, they just kind of go out, if we do road trips or travel anywhere. My grandpa was kind of the one that really got me into photography. They had a cabin up in the mountains, and we would go on a road trip just to kill some time in the day. And he gave me like his digital camera, which was a huge thing back then, because you used to have, put in your film and stuff, and that gets expensive. And so he would tell me that I could use this camera as long as I didn't miss the shot. And my goal was getting logging trucks and cattle guards. He wouldn't ever slow down when it came to driving or stop so I can get a shot. And he told me, life doesn't ever stop for you. So you have to learn how to, adjust in it to do it. And whether or not he was being smart or if it was actual like sentimental advice, I don't know. Had a very kind of dry sense of humor in a way, which we all loved about him, because you could never tell if he was being serious or joking. But I've, over the years, I've really taken that to heart, and it makes a lot of sense. And so I constantly, just go out and taking photos and hope that they turn out. And if not, it's fine. So yeah, I wouldn't really say it was fully artistic, is in a degree of like music and painting, but photography is kind of its own artistic outlet in a way.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Oh, I like that. That's a great memory.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. So where does the love for painting and drawing and music come from then? Do you have somebody else, other people that kind of had an influence on you?
Not directly. My mom, every now and then, she would kind of do some, kind of cartoon doodles from time to time, especially, on the phone, she's talking and sitting there doodling about. And I always loved those and still do to this day. So I kind of, tried to do some art, to feel happy and stuff like that. I had a great aunt that did a lot of painting, a lot of oil painting and stuff like that. And she was incredible with a lot of her like landscapes and stuff like that. She would just like pull off in an area and would paint something, and had her stuff in museums and things like that down in southern Idaho. Unfortunately, I wasn't ever really close with her just because she lived far away and we were kind of all busy with their own lives, as people tend to be. But I definitely think it would have been really cool to, to pick your brain and to learn more about that, especially oil paintings, because I suck at that.
Yes, but your art is beautiful as well. So
Thank you.
welcome. Wow. All right. So you also have 10 plus years of experience in the entertainment industry and radio. So tell us about that.
Started with a radio station. I was friends with a kind of local band, and one of the members of the band was a DJ. And I was like, oh, I always thought that would be cool, be a DJ and kind of force everyone to listen to all the different songs that I like and get other people that's not in the mainstream out on the radio. And so he's like, well, come on down to this station. So I went down to the station at Radio Boise, and started kind of getting involved and was volunteering. I did every position from the ground up, which was awesome. A lot of experience there. My favorite, although wasn't necessarily working in the booth, ironically enough, I enjoyed categorizing all of the records and CDs that came in, because I was the first person that was opening it and was listening to it that these artists were mailing into the station. I just thought that was so much fun. It was like Christmas, not only for my hands opening up all these packages, but for my ears as well. I'm like, I've never heard of this group, and who is it? And then I would, kind of get sidetracked and start researching about these people. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. From there, I got into stage management. And then I got into kind of some roadie work and promoting and helping out other people.
You've done a lot.
In a short time, too.
Yes, in a short time. Absolutely. And let me just go back to, because I think I cut you short on, your love for photography, painting, etc. So where did the music part of it come in? When did you get into that?
I've always loved listening to music. Growing up, there was always the radio that was playing in the background. I found myself just kind of singing along to all of that. When I was middle school, I joined up in choir. It was just kind of an extra elective, and everyone's like, choir? I was like, yeah, why not? I did pretty good in it for a while until, high school. I changed schools and choir teachers, and ended up kind of messing up my voice, my confidence a little bit, quite a bit actually. And I quit singing. And it wasn't until recently that I was like, I want to get back into that. While I was in middle school, I was always writing poetry. And so I took a lot of those poems and was working on turning them into song lyrics just for the fun of it. And I work on really challenging myself to develop something deeper and more meaningful, more factual and relatable. Sometimes I look back at my earlier stuff and I was like, oh man, that was terrible. And, fifth grader could have done better. It's progress. And
absolutely.
I strive to keep learning and growing. And
it's the progress that has gotten you to this point.
It has, yes.
And so with the painting and the photography and the drawing and writing, you also do, let me see where my notes are, you also write about, which I found so interesting, historical events. Why historical events?
I am a little bit of a nerd. I like the fact and the truth that is done in historical events. And I like being able to help preserve a lot of that. And it's kind of kicks off to the start of my album, Crimes Against Humanity. When I was middle school, I remember we would always have like guest speakers that would come to the school. So there would be, retired vets that would come in. We had Holocaust survivors that would come in. We'd have these huge assemblies. Most of the time, the kids weren't paying attention. And I was just drawn into what they were talking about, because it was nothing at all like what the textbooks and what we were learning. It was far more, I don't want to say exotic or grotesque, but those are the only words I can think of. It was far more extreme. There we go.
Right.
Than what we were learning. And granted, schools can only teach so much in the time period that they are in. Would just get curious, because the images that was rolling around in my head and just hearing their voices, it was just stuck, and I couldn't wrap my brain around it. And so in a way, I kind of got a little bit obsessive of watching films and documentaries and just wormholing into all of it. There was so much that I was learning. I wanted to, share some of that with people. I really love music and films that make you think and have a lot of depth and character. I thought, I love helping people and I want to make a difference. And so, if I could inspire people and if I can preserve history and events that have happened and tell these stories, that's what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. And so I have been doing it.
You have, absolutely. Between your photography, the painting, writing, which kind of crosses over to each other, bringing you into the indie music world. Did you think when you were younger that was the path you were going to end up in, or was this later on when you got back into the music that you wanted to pursue a career as an indie artist as well?
Honestly, I didn't fully know what I wanted when I was a little kid. There was a point in time I wanted to play soccer. I wanted to work with horses and do rodeo or be a vet. You know, I get so attached to animals. And so I'm like, okay, that would be really bad. You know, if something happens to them, I couldn't handle it. I always loved writing. You know, I love artwork, of taking pictures, and I love music. And so I just kind of immersed myself into that. When I was in middle school, I wanted to be a writer. I always thought it would be cool to write a bunch of song lyrics and have someone else, you know, sing and perform them. And I still think that that would be awesome. So if anyone is looking for some lyrics, hit me up.
There you go.
You know, I thought, can't always just wait around for someone else to, you know, make your dreams come true. I have a voice, might not be the best, you know, it's here. You know, why not? It can't be that difficult to do. I mean, it is a challenge. I finally got the courage to just go for it. You know, life's short.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad that you got the courage to go forward, because your music and the music is beautiful, and there are messages. And so what do you want your listeners to take away from your music?
I want them to have the same experience that I do when listening to music, to where you can hear a line in it and it sparks that curiosity to go, you know, what is this about? And to look it up, learn from it. You know, that's what I want listeners to be able to take away from my music, is just knowledge, truth and knowledge.
Along with everything else, you started your own nonprofit business, Words from the Bird LLC. Tell us about the company and the name first, and why did you want to start Words from the Bird?
Well, I started Words from the Bird LLC because there is very much a constant need for promotion and getting the word out about your art, your business, whatever it is that there is. And a lot of people, when you're starting up a company, you don't have funds to, you know, put into for someone else to do that for you. And it's very, very time consuming to do that outside of, you know, making whatever products or doing the things that you do already on top of running a business. My ultimate goal is to have a bunch of land and a property where it's kind of like a bed and breakfast, recording studio, performance center for all forms of art, and a ranch and a garden. Be able to have culinary students come in and just, you know, ultimately give back all the time. You know, it's so easy to be selfish, and it's a lot harder to be so open and to, you know, give all the time. I just love doing that type of stuff. How I came up with the name, for some reason, I just really fell in love with birds. I've always wanted one. I have one. I learned that, you know, people pay a lot more attention to things that's done from an animal than they do an actual person. And, you know, Words from the Bird, it's kind of catchy because it's just like the song Surfing Bird. So I went with that. And so my bird, Oslo, is kind of the business spokesperson that we have. And, you know, he takes part in some of the interviews and meetings that we have too. He doesn't say much, but, you know, he'll make it present.
Oh, I like that. Oh, that's great. I love all that combined with the indie artists and a place to get away to with other, you know, people that are in your same realm of be able to help each other.
You know, where I'm at here in Idaho, it's a little bit of a closed music community. It's very tight niche compared to other, you know, states and stuff like that. It's far more welcoming. That, you know, we need to try to change that in a way and improve, because art and music, it's all about connecting and being supportive of each other. You know, we need to be able to do that. And so that's the key with this business is, you know, supporting people and helping and connecting.
Yes. And the indie artist community is definitely all about that. Let's take a music break, listen to some songs from my featured artist, and then we'll be back to the interview.
The dog's barking, people certain, as the world keeps turning. History teaches us no surprise. Over Peter Pattinson, pack full lies. Don't keep your mouth shut, don't close your eyes. This ain't no lullaby. It's crimes against humanity and nobody's free. It's a story about survival in human life. Cities buried deep, full full of strife. Pain stays the same while surroundings change. Blinded by the greed, hunger for less. Beauty once was turns to ashes and dust. Don't keep your mouth shut, don't close your eyes. This ain't no lullaby. You got your buildings burning, things exploding. No justice, no peace. The whole world is watching as riots and violence fill the streets. Emergency crews couldn't break through. Police brutality, divide and conquer. Political puppets, but the problem's far more than just color. It's greedy bad leaders of man, of duty. His life on the line with commands say through it. Don't keep your mouth shut, don't close your eyes. This ain't no lullaby. Hundreds to thousands and unmarked graves. A child's innocence does not escape. A dog's barking, people certain as the world keeps turning. History teaches us no surprises. Repeated patterns and back for lies. Don't keep your mouth shut, don't close your eyes. This ain't no lullaby. It's crimes against humanity and nobody's free. It's a story about survival in a human life. Cities very deep, full of strife. Pain stays the same while surroundings change. And about the greed, hunger for less. Beauty once was turns to ashes and dust. Keep your mouth shut, don't close your eyes. This ain't no lullaby.
So let's get into a little bit about your music. Let's start with who is Ken Stringfellow, because he is definitely someone, and what his involvement with Crimes Against Humanity was, and what's the story behind Crimes Against Humanity.
So Ken Stringfellow is a very well-known musician. He was in with the band, well, he started the band The Posies. He was in with Big Star, REM, Lagwagon, a whole bunch of others. We became friends over the years. He has a recording studio out in Seattle. He also has one out in France. He can work anywhere, remotely, in person, at any studio, really. He helps others record their music and do what they love, because he, again, is a very helpful person. And so we were chatting, and I had been tossing around the idea about, wanting to record some music. Finally, I was just like, you know what, let's do it. And so we had a session together. I had some music that I did, and he helped, make that sound a lot better. And then I had some other songs that I didn't know how I wanted them to sound. And so we kind of just played around at the studio on, different instruments. He's the type of musician that can pick up any instrument, play something, and it's incredible in one take. I'm just blown away by that still to this day.
Yeah.
He's one of those producers to where he doesn't just take your money and have the music be. He really works to make sure that you are having like a full sound and that it's the way that you want. If you're struggling at something, he can come up with suggestions like on the spot. He's just a really great guy to work with, really creative and supportive. And he's really patient with me when it comes to being in the studio because I get really nervous. He's played on majority of the instruments for my album Crimes Against Humanity, produced, mixed, and mastered. The album itself is going to be out later this year. I don't have an exact date yet.
Okay.
We're still kind of working on mastering a couple of the songs still. And then we're going to be working on album number 3, which is going to be Maps of Existence.
Nice.
So it's all, exciting and it's fun.
Absolutely. So just a little story behind Crimes Against Humanity. What was that song about? And it's also the name of the album.
It's also the name of the album. So that song took actually a couple of years to write the lyrics for. And it was one of those where I was doing a whole bunch of writing and then I would just pull bits and pieces from all these different pieces that I did until it made sense. And then I had to shorten it because it was like 2-3 pages long. And you can't have that in songs because that was just way too long. And I just decided for the sound of it, I wanted it to be a little mysterious, but kind of on a spoken verse, kind of a little aspect of jazzy in a way. And I wanted that song to kind of be the prefix of the whole entire album. That's how it turned out, and it turned out beautifully.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It repeats itself because history and life, tends to repeat a little bit. And so it's very unique and genius on how the lyrics are laid out.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, incredible. I'm looking forward for the album release as well. And 64 to 68?
Yep, 64 68 is another single off of the album. That one is based on pretty much everything that happened in the years 1964 and 1968. I really touched up on JFK and Martin Luther Jr. King. I honestly, with that song, I had been watching a lot of documentaries of that time period. It was just kind of fascinating to me. It was just writing down possible topics to kind of explore and just words that sounded neat. And then I realized I just listed out everything that happened in the time period. Again, I kind of did a little bit of a spoken verse on that, but I wanted it to be fun and catchy and not necessarily be fully rock or punk. I wanted it to be kind of like a B-52 song,
There you go.
And so that's the sound that we were going for on it. And that was one of the songs from the album. I just had like a few ideas already laid out before getting to the studio. And that was one that Ken totally just laid down those guitar tracks. I love it.
And I think everybody else is loving it too, since it's hitting number one.
It's so catchy. It gets stuck in your head. I played it for some of my family members, and then a couple of hours later, they were like humming the song along, and I'm like, yes, mission accomplished.
Oh my gosh, I love your basis of your lyrics, and
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's different. I know everybody has their own style of writing. I know everybody draws on different things that have happened or feelings, what have you. But to have what you've done and taken the bits and pieces of history and then create these songs is just phenomenal.
Thank you.
Going into Oddity, which was your first album.
Yes, Oddity was my first album. So that is all instrumental. I was just, honestly, I came up with that album on Bandcamp, just kind of playing around because I got bored one day and thought, I'm going to make an album. That song, Oddity, which is self-titled for the album, is actually the whole summary of the album in one song. I did that song. I thought, I want to make an album based off of this, but I want this song to really stick out from the rest. The album itself, instrumentally wise, is laid out to kind of play into music videos, which I'll be releasing here soon. It's a space adventure that may or may not go wrong or may not never happen. I decided, since it is with space, which was another topic I rabbit holed down and became obsessed with, I decided that there is a lot of really awesome NASA audio clips on their website, which you can use for educational purposes for free. And I thought, cool, but what about doing a song, let alone, trying to sell an album? I want to make sure that I don't get sued from NASA. And so I did a lot of research and called so many people. God, I went through like 30 different numbers that I had called trying to reach someone, and it was just voicemail after voicemail. And the last number I called, an actual person answered. And I was just so taken back when she said, her name and that she was with NASA. I literally said, oh my gosh, you're a human. And she said, well, we're not aliens. And I just felt so embarrassed, but it's, hilarious in a way because it's NASA. I told her my idea, and so she passed it along to the correct people. And they said, yeah, you can definitely feel free to use our archives. We don't endorse you, but you're welcome to use it how you see fit. So even though I'm not endorsed by NASA, I still make a point to give them the credit for it. Obviously, there was a lot of different audio clips from different space explorations that happened. My thought was, maybe it'll trigger people again to be curious, wonder, where did this clip come from, and look up that space exploration. Space is one of those things. We know a lot more now than what we used to, but there's still so much more to know, and we don't at this point in time. And it's just fascinating, how you can be down here and there's so much light and color, and then you're up there and it's just dark. It's dark. It's cool.
That is so cool, because when I was, doing my research on your music, and I, was reading about that album, and it's like, NASA, really? Like, and my question was, how did you get the clips? That is so cool.
It was on their archive. It's on their website. Again, they're free to use. Just ask permission if you're going to try to profit off of it, as anyone should for anything.
Right. So cool.
But yeah, there's so many different audio clips on there. I didn't use all of them because, that would be way too much. But they are very fascinating. The fact that we can listen to some of those voices, even though they're no longer alive. Right. And hear them in space. It's just... It's cool.
Very cool. Oh my gosh. And so you're working on your third album that you mentioned in the beginning, Maps.
Yes, Maps of Existence. This album is pretty much based on philosophy, the concept of reality and in time, and if any of it's real, because, we don't really know if we're in some sort of simulation, or if there's multiple, parallel universes or what have you. Right. And so this album kind of plays on a lot of those questions, a lot of the philosophers that are mentioned in the songs as well. The concept also is kind of like the ending in a way of Crimes Against Humanity, which is a little bit darker, although there are lighter songs on it. This one is going to be very kind of, I love the synthesizer, so there's going to be a lot of that on there. There's going to be, kind of the aspect of some steampunk sounds and clocks, maybe a little reggae thrown in there. Just going to have to check it out once it's ready.
Oh my gosh. Do you have I'm sure you don't, but a release date or an idea of when?
Nope. I'm looking at recording it later this summer.
Okay.
The songs. I'm not sure if I'll get fully through all of the songs in the recording sessions yet. It just kind of depends on funds and time. I already have the next album after this one, the concept in my head in the title. I just don't have any of the songs written yet. Maps of Existence is going to be pretty easy to record because I have a game plan for all of the songs.
There you go.
I know how I want all of them to sound. And there may or may not be a duet in this album as well.
Oh, okay. We've got things to look forward to. Oh, I am looking forward to more music from you. Let me ask you this. What advice would you give an indie artist starting out in this business these days?
What advice would I give? I would tell them to love yourself and what you do, because there's going to be people that are going to try to tear you down, kind of hate on you for your success and your talents. Keep your true friends really close, because you're going to need all the support that you can get. Make sure that you're doing it for yourself and not for other people. That's huge. If you end up trying to make your music for someone else, you probably end up, disappointed. It's a lot of work, and it gets very expensive to record and to travel to get the distribution and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's worth the risk, worth all the funds. It can be a tax write-off.
There you go. In the end. It is a lot of work, but I think if indie artists like you who do it, one step at a time, and you bring in all the pieces you need and all the people you need and build that foundation and, work your way up to, where you are now. It's not for the faint of heart. That's my go-to phrase these days. You guys just work your butts off.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, maintain a full-time desk job while I'm trying to do all of my music, my art, plus promoting other people and getting all of their stuff together. It's a lot of sleepless nights. Ultimately, it's worth it. I have people that question, you spend so much money to make this, and yet you don't really make anything off of it. It's like, well, there's not a lot of money to make off of it unless you're really 100% dedicated, foot down, going at it. But, I enjoy what I do. If I didn't, then it would be work.
But over time, though, you'll build yourself up. You'll build, Bird will, continue to flourish. You have different avenues that you're into and working at. So I believe that you will end up at, making the money in the end. And like you said, it is full time. You work a full-time job, and the music is a full-time job, and it's a lot. So, but you're doing it.
It can be done.
Social media, it seems to be shifting, and it's always shifting. I know that. And making it harder for artists to get noticed. What's your combination for marketing?
Social media has changed a lot. It's helpful and it's hurtful at the same time. It used to be you would have to go out and, buy an album to listen to someone. Now you can just stream it online, and it takes 1,000+ streams just to make a couple of pennies off of. And it's easy enough to where anyone can make music now. I mean, you have Bandcamp, you have your own home studios that you can just do on your laptop or your phone from anywhere, which is great. But it really takes away more kind of an authentic sound. There's so many podcasts and online radio stations that are happening now, which is great because it gives smaller artists, indie artists, a chance to get heard in airplay, online play. There's a lot now that I have noticed just kind of in my own search of reaching out to radio stations to where people are charging to listen, to charge for you to submit your song somewhere. And I don't really believe in that. I'm much more the old school way. I would rather go in with a CD to a radio station and be like, here you go. And that doesn't really happen anymore. And it's kind of sad because it takes away kind of that tangible aspect of music and art. We make things so at our fingertip, but at a price. It's great to have things like Facebook and Instagram and all those other platforms because you can build up a following over time. Naturally, not paid for, though you could do paid for, but that's going to be a lot of bots. And it's nice to be able to connect a little bit closer with people. You can instant message and things like that. So, I mean, that part is nice, but there's also the downside to where you can have people try to stalk you and harass you online.
Of course. That
can be very damaging. And it's really hurtful as, a human, because we should be at a point in our lives to where we're kind of evolved past that. And yet we kind of seem to be regressing backwards more and more. We have the concept of AI, which is kind of cool to come up with ideas. It's also scary on the fact that you can just type in a few things and it can make artwork, it can make music, it can do vocals for you, answer your emails and stuff like that. So we're not really thinking for ourselves anymore, and that's sad to see
and scary and very scary.
It's helpful and it's hurtful. It's just a matter of using it and being a good judgment. And if I could make a recommendation, don't be afraid to block people trying to get at you. That's a huge boundary, and it's a safety aspect as well.
Good and bad, like you said. So what's next for Vo? Because you got a lot of things going on. Is there anything else in between?
Sleep. That's my go-to. No, so the weather is nice. We're officially in spring now. I like to get out and, work on my landscape photography and nature photography. I like to take walks, be in nature, see all the baby animals, the baby cows and goats and sheep. I do a bit of rock hounding in my free time as well. And, I'll be traveling a lot more, been friends out with their shows and stuff like that. So you might see me on the road. I'll be back in the recording studio making things happen. So
that's awesome. That is great. And so let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, just for like a couple of, video posts, nothing personal on TikTok, Twitter, and Thread. I am on all of those platforms. I have, if you go to my Instagram, there is a link tree that'll have a link that will have everything listed. It also has all of my streaming platforms for my music as well, which is, Bandcamp, YouTube, Spotify, etc.
And it's Vo Bird. I love that name.
Thank you.
Welcome. Vo, thank you so much for joining me tonight on R2RB podcast series. Honestly, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. And we had talked before, but it was nice to finally meet you.
It was a pleasure being on here and being able to chat with you. Thanks for allowing me to talk about my music and my passions. And it's great to be able to share and connect.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bang, bang, bang. Vietnam War, civil rights of 64. US in hysteria, not just for the media. LCD technology, great war on poverty. Oh, the bloody memories. Guns ring out their history. Societies in disbelief. What made them kill some mystery? Fears left in the air. Hopes are in a great despair. 6 days of riots as the everyday worker strikes. Political and cultural change. Americans are in a rage. Oh, the bloody memories. Guns ring out their history. Societies in disbelief. What made them kill some mystery? X-marks on the road, blood stains on the clothes, so everybody knows. The Kennedys to the key. History will repeat if we don't stop the hate. Yeah, if we don't try for change. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Guns ring out their history. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang.
And that was 64 through 68, Vo Bird. Thank you, Vo, so much for sitting down with me for the R2RB podcast series. I definitely enjoyed our conversation. And I just want to share one more thing with you that Vo is working on. There's a GoFundMe that Vo has put together. It's Defend the Artist, a legal aid fund for artists under threat. Art has the power to heal, challenge, and transform, but today the artists behind that work are increasingly under attack. From relentless cyberbullying and online harassment to stolen work, unpaid royalties, and copyright abuse, many independent creators are left fighting complex legal battles with no support and no resources. This fundraiser exists to change that. We're building a legal support fund for artists, one that provides direct aid to those facing urgent legal challenges related to online harassment, stalking, defamation, copyright infringement, and licensing violations, unauthorized use of creative work, emergency legal situations threatening safety or livelihood. Your donation will help cover legal fees, consultations, and urgent actions like cease and desist letters, DMCA filings, and rights enforcement. This fund will assist multiple artists across disciplines, musicians, visual artists, writers, performers, filmmakers, and more, focusing on real-world cases and long-term impact. Together we can protect the creative voices that shape our world. Donate today. Share this widely. Let's defend the artists, because silence should never be the cost of creating. So this is a GoFundMe. for, as I said, defend the artist, a legal aid fund for artists under threat. You can find VoteBird on Facebook and find the link for this, or if you go to GoFundMe, just put in Defend the Artist and you'll find the GoFundMe where you can make a donation. And again, Vo, thank you for all you do. You certainly do have the indie artist, right up front and in your heart. So thank you for that. All right, well, it is onward and upward. And because let me tell you, the week just keeps going downhill. I can't wait till Friday. Next up is the Wednesday Rally Indie Artist, and this week Rob Harrowven was nominated. So in the Wednesday Rally, somebody gets nominated to be the Indie Artist of the Week. The Indie Artist chooses a song that they like those to listen to, for everybody to listen to, and then comment and review that song. So it's kind of pretty neat. Sometimes, there's indie artists that have, looking to build up their, maybe their followers, definitely getting their music out there. And, it's a great way to do that. And so I had checked in with Wednesday Rally's group and asked if I, would love to then take that indie artist and have them live here on the R2RB or halfway through the week show. If at all possible, it will be live, which is going to be, and if not, if they have, if they're across the way, then we're going to do what we did tonight with what I did with Rob's interview. And he is from the UK, so a bit of a challenge, being a live caller, definitely after midnight. Anyway, that's where we're going to start. I'm going to start that interview. Let's see if I can get this straight, because I haven't got much else straight this week. What do I want? I want this song, and then we're going to go to that song, and I'm going to start the interview. I'm going to play Out in the Cold somewhere in there, and at the end, I asked Rob if, I wanted to play a second song, and did he have one that he would like me to play, which is the happy song. Okay, folks, let me get this started. And enjoy. Hi, and welcome to the Wednesday Rally Indie Artist Spotlight of the Week. Each week, an indie artist is nominated to the Wednesday Rally Facebook group, and then I get to have that indie artist here on halfway through the week as my guest. It will be a live segment unless there's a large time difference, 5+ hours. This week's Wednesday Rally Indie artist is Rob Harrowven. Rob is all the way over in the UK, so 5 hours for him. So tonight's segment has been pre-recorded 2 ways. Rob recorded his answers, and I added my questions to the mix. Rob's Wednesday Rally song is Out in the Cold. I asked Rob what his second choice would be for tonight, and he chose Happy Song. We'll start with Out in the Cold, leading us into the interview, and then into Happy Song. So here we go. who is Rob Harrowven, away from music? And where are you from? And any other background information you'd like to share with us?
So I'm originally from Norwich in the east of England, and after spending many years living in London, I've now returned to my home city. So I retired a few years ago from my career as a clinical scientist in audiology, and I now enjoy peaceful hobbies such as reading, walking, going to the gym, creating music, and supporting my local football team, although that doesn't always leave me feeling peaceful, and spending quality time with my partner, my sister, and good friends.
Are there any other family members who are in the music field?
No one else in my family has been in the music field, although my father did love listening to music. Artists such as Neil Diamond, Elton John, and the Eagles. He's sadly passed on now, as has my mother.
Who has influenced your music career the most?
I'm mostly influenced by the artists I grew up with as a teenager in the 70s. Status Quo, their classic period of early to mid-70s, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Supertramp, Mott the Hoople, and Ian Hunter, and Slade, who were an incredibly successful band in the UK in the early to mid-70s, and apart from their Christmas song, are most famous for the original version of Come On Feel the Noise, a song which most Americans would probably associate with Quiet Riot, who released a cover in the early 80s.
Did you know from an early age that you wanted to be in the music field?
When I was young, I had no ambitions of being in the music field. I learned to play the guitar and a little piano as a teenager, and I wrote a few songs at that time, but I had no inclination to take it further, although I did get together with a couple of friends to play a few Quo and AC/DC songs, but that's as far as it went. Then followed quite a few decades of hardly touching a musical instrument, and it wasn't until after retirement that I thought it might be fun to write and record a song. So I recorded Spirit of Agatha, which is based on a book that I was reading at the time in a book club, Foucault's Pendulum and the Knight Templars.
Was there a moment when you knew you wanted to be an indie artist?
After recording Spirit of Agatha, I decided to write a song about my partner the following year, Shobalob. It's not her real name, it's a silly name we made up from when we first got together many years before. I then had a taste for songwriting and recording, so I decided to write and record an album, which included 5 songs based on those I'd written as a teenager. And eventually Hackney Days was released in November of 2023. It was then that I realised I had found a brilliant retirement hobby, being an indie artist working from home. Although both my albums had been mixed in a recording studio in Hackney, London, by Dan Cox at Urchin Studio, who's worked wonders with my extremely lo-fi home recordings.
How would you describe your music?
My music is a mixture of fairly upbeat tracks and ballads, both guitar-based and keyboard-based. It's simple, it's never complex, and it's always composed from the heart. So different people and AI genre detectors have given various genre labels for my tracks. So the guitar-based ones have been labelled 80s rock, indie rock, alternative rock, and post-punk. Keyboard ones are usually called electronic.
What was your reaction when you found out you were nominated for the Wednesday Rally?
So when I received the message about the Wednesday Rally from Andy Carr, one of the group admins, I wasn't initially sure if it was a genuine message. Literally a couple of hours earlier, I'd become one of the many people targeted by a fake t-shirt scammer who had posted in my name in Group Together using my thumbnail picture. Luckily at the slip, who you've had on your podcast, they noticed it quickly and not only informed me, but also helped sort it out. So I had to ask Andy if it was really him who'd messaged me with his personal thumbnail, which I'd never seen before. But once I realised the nomination was genuine, I was rather overwhelmed. It's such an honour to have a song reviewed in the rally, as it is a great honour to be on this podcast too.
Why did you choose the song for the Wednesday Rally, Out in the Cold?
So I chose Out in the Cold, the title track from my latest album, as the song for the Wednesday Rally, as it's one of the strongest songs on the album. But I've gathered from various people that their favourite song of mine is Happy Song. But as it has been on so many playlists within the group, including a long YouTube subscribers list where many people have already commented on it, I thought I would pick one of the other stronger songs, which has been played a lot less. It also conveys a lot of emotion and angst, which I thought would encourage some interesting comments.
How are you feeling about the comments you have been receiving on your song, Out in the Cold?
Comments in the Wednesday Rally are simply amazing. So much positivity all in one place. People are so kind here. And as Sirius Blu-ray, one of the leaders of the group, has said to me, it's like having 5 birthdays at once. And she's so right. I have to admit, though, to being teary-eyed when reading most of them. But there was one review by the Cul-de-sac King, where I suddenly went from being teary-eyed to bursting out laughing at their last line about fake t-shirts.
What message do you want your listeners to come away with?
The message I would like to leave for the listeners is that it's never too late to start writing and recording music. I waited until my late 50s to start recording. It's one of the best things I've ever done.
What does the indie community mean to you? Why is it important to have a support system like the indie community?
The group together indie community means everything to me. As I've already mentioned, they are very positive people. The group together leaders and admins, especially Sirius Blu-ray and Sean Stratt, actively encourage kindness and positivity and give a lot of support to the members. Group Together is a seriously amazing, mutually supportive group. I mean, it really is.
So what are you working on next? Any collaborations?
At the moment, I'm working on a new single, which should be released in a month or two. It's a title track of a new album I hope to release by the end of the year called Moving On. But no collaborations as yet. I'm not sure they're really my cup of tea, to be honest. But of course, I may change my mind one day in the not too soon future.
Where can everybody find you? Social, email address?
If anyone wants to find me, I have a Facebook page, Rob Harrowven Music, where you can find my email address as well as links to my YouTube channel, My Music on Spotify. And thank you so much for featuring me on the R2RB podcast. It's something else I thought that would never happen. Thank you.
Rob, thank you. Thank you for being my guest here on Wednesday Rally segment on Halfway Through the Week. This has been fun. I've enjoyed putting the pieces together. Best of luck, and I certainly enjoy your music.
Hey, this is Dana with Dana Begay Music, and you're listening to Halfway Through the Week with Deb LaMotta.
All right. Oh my gosh. I have enjoyed Rob's music. That was Happy Song. We all need a happy song. In fact, I need a double shot of Happy Song tonight. All right. So, let me just read some of these reviews because they're really, really, really good. Let's see. Hold on. I'm getting there. From Grunge Tree. Reading Rob's post yesterday about what he was going through while riding out in the cold was a good setup. He did a very good job of expressing loss and want in the song, as well as making himself vulnerable in the story he was telling. As a songwriter, this is not something I've not been comfortable doing up to this point, and I have to put some respect on that. I'm sure writing this music was very therapeutic, and I'm glad to hear things are going better. I continued to listen to the entire album and was impressed with the ethereal vibe and some of the different instruments and sounds I heard in there. All that being said, Out in the Cold is a terrific song. I enjoyed giving you a listen today, Rob. Joe Boo's indie music page. Beautiful song, man. Reminded me of some early 70s folk rock. Very timeless feel. I could easily close my eyes and get lost in the storytelling. Well done, my friend. Southern Shades. Listen to Happy Song. Love the upbeat rhythm throughout, and the vocals have me thinking of David Bowie. Rob Harrowven. Music, great song. Yeah, it is a great song, right? That's what I love about the indie artist community. What else here? Let's see. Emma Spinelli. I love Rob's music, and Out in the Cold is so heartfelt and touching. I can feel his emotions in the lyrics and the gentle feelings of sorrow of the time. I have seen and known the journey that led to Rob making such a beautiful song. It is a beautiful song. So there you have it. Rob, thank you so much for doing what you did with sending me the MP3 with your answers and me splicing and dicing and putting the questions together. Yeah, we'll have to definitely tag up again and maybe do a real interview where it flows. It wasn't bad tonight. But thank you so much. And thank you, Vo. I really enjoy, having conversations with people. Sometimes I get them right, and sometimes I gotta go back and fix a little things. But we're getting there. All right. On with the show. I don't know what else is going on. There's so much going on, but I'm just going to stick with what I have with music to close out the show tonight. I have Smoke in the Shape of You with Entropy in Motion with Joe Boo. Yep. And then Entropy in Motion has a poetry project. I'm gonna have to talk to you, Andres, and find out about all this. Ceylon to Siam and its vestiges to the third. So quite interesting. And that'll take us to just about the end of the show. I'll come back with some updates, and that's it. Kind of, it's an easy halfway through the week show. But some good conversations. I'll be back.
This room used to shine when you walked, and now it's just neon and Jim. Yeah, this room used to shine when you walked, and now it's just neon and Jim. The jukebox plays songs we never danced to. I'll pretend it's a memory again. And there's smoke in the shape of you, coming lazy through the light. I still pour 2 drinks out of habit. Oh, you haven't been here a fortnight. I guess I lost the one thing, that used to make me feel alright. Even Bukowski knew better than to chase ghosts in a dive, but here I am, nursing a past. you might read when you're tired. Oh, the lamp by your side, it still burns soft like you might read when you're tired. I thought about turning it off last week, but I just couldn't kill that fire. 'Cause there's still smoke in the shape of you, but it doesn't kiss me goodnight. It hangs in the air like a silent treatment after another senseless fight. I reach for the law, nobody slips away. I'm left saying sorry to the voice written by it. I long for the day when I was your everything, because you were my only thing.
Two echoes walk the vaulted halls of an old cathedral I once mistook for the future. One wore sunlight like a deer, warm fingers grazing fabric, leaving the scent of unfinished laughter on the doorstep of my stillness. She was a hymn with a crooked grin, a girl who played games to be caught. But I, archivist of silent convictions, only wind trace her name in the dust I refuse. The other a rick dusk, quiet with unspoken symmetry. Her presence didn't knock. It waited in doorframes, in thoughts that never learned to sit still. I knew her through absences, like recognizing constellations only when they vanish behind cloud. She asked nothing, but stood beside time, like someone who could shape it if I let her. I never did. They were not flames but flares, signals seen too late, through the blur of youth's compass. Not lost lovers, just soft ruins of a self that nearly reached for something, before the hand curled back into the pocket of reason. What got away was not them. It was the part of me that almost believed I could be held, without unraveling.
I hope everybody had enjoyed the conversations with Bird and Rob Harrowven. I know I did, and great music. Joe Boo, another one, Smoke in the Shape of You with Ann Trophy in Motion. And I will be back Sunday night, Out of the Attic, live from Delaware at 7 p.m. Tune in, hopefully. Until next week at halfway through the week, I'm Deb LaMotta. Have a great week.